what have you got for us then, Super Sam?
There's a lot going on. What'd you say, Super Sam, with a bit of irony in your voice there? I didn't like that.
Do you know, we were talking about, Ali, we were talking about this in the break. You weren't privy to this conversation. We're talking about my age in the break, which we won't reveal, but I'm sure it can be Googled.
No.
I'm a little bit older than Sam. And,
well, yeah.
Yes.
And all of his questions are, do you do Instagram? Like, how old do you think I am? Yes, I do Instagram.
So much, yeah.
You know, I thought that was a bit critical.
I've never seen Natalie saw a selfie before.
Well, I think I've got to an age now where I don't need
You're
to
too
do
old for
selfies.
It's fair enough.
Did you think that Natalie had sent messages by Morse code or something like that because of
a carrier pigeon? I think
exactly.
I
mean, what's going on with you, Sam? Tread very carefully this morning, Sam.
Dangerous territory for Monday morning. Let's do some headlines. A busy weekend of sport. Back of the Mail. Eddie's horror show. Heat on England coach after his worst defeat. Eddie Jones names his squad to face Australia in a 3-test tour this morning, and that's after being thrashed 52-21 by the Barbarians. That's on the back of the Mail. The cricket also is across the back pages. The good news is, as the Telegraph Sport headline says, Roy powers England to series win. Opener celebrates 100th ODI with 73 against Netherlands. But sadly, a lot of the newspapers are talking about the poor form of Owen Morgan. In the Mail, Morgan draws another blank, captain out for a duck again, as questions over his place mount up since making an unbeaten 75 in an ODI against Sri Lanka a year ago. He has failed to reach 50 in 42 innings. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he's probably the best white ball captain in the world at the moment. One of the best white ball captains we've ever seen. Correct. But his form on the bat is horrendous. There are some injury niggles he's got. But look, one thing's for certain, I think anyone doubting his place in this England team is ludicrous.
Correct.
He will 100% be the captain of the T20 World Cup. And it's important to point out, Ali, he has, in the past, in his career, gone through big patches of poor form. He always seems to pull through and find it. So, to me, Ali, write him off for your peril.
No chance. There is no chance anybody should be writing Owen Morgan off. He has... not single-handedly, but what he's put England with a white ball on the map. He grabbed that with a scruff of the neck, in the face of criticism. Transformed that team, by the way, absolutely. And he has gone through a little bit of a sticky patch with the bat. However, class always prevails. He will come out. And by the way, isn't it funny though? You look at the lineup in the ODI and the T20, and it's as powerful a batting lineup as I have ever seen, and I would suggest you would probably say the same.
Yeah.
Yet what are we doing? We're picking the nuts and bolts out of somebody that's had 2 ducks, rather than talk about Jason Roy, rather than talk about Livingston, talk about Butler's unbelievable innings, talk about who else? Somebody that's 73.
Phil Salt got
100.
Milan got 100 first ODI as well.
Exactly. So why do we not talk?
It is funny though, isn't it, how we are criticising a captain that and the team's won. It does seem very, very bizarre to do that. I know I went with Joe Root, and obviously he was often the one that was carrying England for the test team, but the test team was losing. So you can understand where the criticism was coming at and coming from, and why they thought they might need a change. But yeah, things are going all right at the moment for the shorter former of the game for England.
Absolutely, and again, I've got no doubt that he's going to find form again, guys. Some F1 headlines: dominant Verstappen in Montreal, cruise control was headline in The Guardian. A very happy Lewis Hamilton is the front of the Telegraph Sport, back on the podium. Hamilton third in the Canadian Grand Prix. But let's now talk a little bit of football, guys, okay? Right. Interesting story, Telegraph Sport. Chelsea chasing Sterling to cover for Lukaku exit. Matt Law, very well connected with Chelsea, reports this morning Inter Milan are on the brink of sealing Romelu Lukaku's return to Italy, which will prompt Chelsea into looking to up their speed in bringing in players. Lukaku to go on loan, and that leaves Chelsea considering other options, and that option is apparently going to be Raheem Sterling. He's only got a year left on his Man City contract. So Ali, Lukaku to go back on loan to Inter, and Raheem Sterling potentially to Chelsea. What do you make of that?
Well, if you're asking me, he doesn't seem a very obvious replacement for Lukaku, does he, Sterling? No doubt they're both talented players, but they certainly are not like for like. I was hoping, I must admit, I was hoping that Lukaku would stay and fight and try and make his way back into the team, but I don't know if there's too much water under the bridge. Remember, he came out with that statement a few months back, which kind of, in my opinion, shot himself in the foot, and he's never really got back into top form after that, and he's never really won the hearts back of the Chelsea support. So it looks as though it might be a deal to be done there. It's a funny one, guys, but I know I can't see Sterling in a Chelsea jersey. I don't know why.
Is it because you're so used to seeing him in the blue of Man City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But then a return to London? Maybe that's something that intrigues him. I don't know.
I think it might be. Maybe he's wanting, there's not, seriously, obviously not guaranteed a starting place at Manchester City, but then again, there's maybe only 2 or 3 that are there. But will he be guaranteed a starting place at Chelsea? Maybe more appearances. I'm not sure.
But does that also mean, do you think, Ali, that Kai Havertz is going to be the preferred? Because like
number
you say,
9.
Yeah, because they're not. It's not like for like. So who's going to be that striker for Chelsea?
No.
It did seem towards the end it was Havertz anyway. And maybe the benefit of having someone like Sterling is the pace and getting in behind, and then you're setting up Havertz potentially as well. But
they've got that with Werner as well, although Werner's
absolutely
not as clinical as he should be, to be honest with you. Havertz, I don't think, is an out-and-out number 9, but I think the main line of the story is it certainly looks as though Lukaku's on his way.
Just one more before we break, guys. Richard Arnold has been across the newspapers, hasn't he, last couple of days after a very open and honest chat with some Manchester United supporters in a pub that was posted on social media. Darren Lewis is strong on it in the Mirror this morning. He says, hang on, the CEO of Manchester United agrees to sit down at the pub and engage with frustrated fans. They betray his trust, and yet he's the problem. To be fair, that angled, unfiltered footage of Richard Arnold opening up on United's nightmare transfer strategy over the last 9 years is probably better PR for the club than any of the sanitised delusion from Ed Woodward ever was. Fans couldn't care less about commercial success when an average Tottenham side are making it into the Champions League ahead of them. If the club is to heal, then surely you use a rare opportunity to chat with the big cheese, to plot a way forward with the fan support, not to pull the rug out from under him. Natalie, what did you make of it? I thought it was great to see a big cheese football club be so open and honest with fans. Are you upset and disappointed that this has ended up on social media?
No, because it doesn't surprise me that it has. You could say there's an element of naivety from Richard Arnold if he's really thinking he's going to have a conversation with a select group of fans, and that isn't going to come out in some shape or form, whether it's recorded like it was covertly and very underhand, or even just that conversation was going to come out in written form in some ways. Fans are going to talk about what they've had. You've had a big discussion with the CEO of Manchester United. That's not going to stay quiet. But I like the fact that he did it. It's transparency. It's a dialogue that he's beginning, because clearly there was a disconnect between the fans and the board previously. And maybe this is the start of repairing damage that's been there at the club for a very, very long time. Yes, you could contest that it's done all underhand, like I've mentioned already, but I think it would have come out in one way or another anyway.
My reading of the situation was, Sam, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think he's clearly done a good thing. Sat down with the fans, and by the way, one of the fans, it seems to me, has betrayed his trust, right? But I'm in the camp Natalie just said. Am I surprised? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Am I disappointed? Yes. I don't know why somebody would betray their trust like that. It just goes to show you he's actually gone, put himself out with an impromptu meeting.
And we want this stuff, don't we, Andy? We always talk about how we want, whether it's with players or managers, we want a close relationship.
Correct.
He's done that. He's talking to them like normal people.
Correct.
And then, next time he probably gets asked a Man United question by someone, he's probably going to think twice, isn't he, about answering it honestly? Yeah,
but from his point of view, and something from the club's point of view, I think it's probably the best bit of PR they've had in a long time.
Do you know, I was just thinking exactly that. Actually, what he said is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be Manchester United fans who woke up over the weekend and saw that stuff that had been said that thought, this is the direction we want to be going in. We want this proper dialogue. We're being told that what's happened before has pretty much been a nightmare and a shambles, but now we're trying to pull and go in the right direction.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.